Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today we're going to chat about electrolytes. What are they? And why are your electrolytes out of balance? What kind of symptoms are you having that could be from electrolytes being out of balance? We'll go into that. I mean, that could be cramping, could be feeling faint, fasciculations, your muscles just kind of quivering or contracting. It could be heart rhythm issues, overly slow or fast, or kind of palpitations, kind of tachycardia, heart rhythms. There could be more issues. We'll kind of dive into that in a minute. Before we do, please smash that like button. Again, hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when I go live and we do these videos like this here so you guys can be involved in the conversation. And put your comments down below. Let me know your experience dealing with electrolytes and your feedback on that. I'd like to hear it. All right, so let's dive in. What are electrolytes? So electrolytes are essentially minerals that have a charge to them. All right, so your big electrolytes are going to be things like sodium or chloride, NaCl. Um, that's going to be your typical sea salt. Then you're going to have things like magnesium and potassium. People tend to be more deficient in these, actually. Harder to get enough of these in your diet. Magnesium, potassium. And then you're going to have calcium's going to be in there. And then there's some, there's some micro kind of minerals that may not be in there at higher levels. But calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, chloride. You could kind of go a little bit lithium in there, some sulfate, but those are your big four, big five. And of course, sodium and potassium plays a big role because your cells, every cell in your body has what's called sodium potassium pumps. Essentially, sodium comes out, potassium comes in, and that helps that cell actually work and communicate. And we need that sodium potassium pump to actually happen. Now, what's the problem with that is, number one, if you're just drinking like processed filtered water and you're not getting good high quality sea salt, you may be low on the sodium side. Most people in the world, they don't tend to be low on the sodium, or at least quality sodium, because they tend to be eating junk food and processed food that has sodium in there to kind of cover up a lot of the taste. But in general, we want good high quality sodium, and a good sea salt like a Redmond's real salt's excellent because it's got sodium and a whole bunch of other trace minerals in and around that. And potassium, it's hard to get enough potassium. The RDA for potassium is around 45 to 4,700 milligrams per day. The average person gets around half that if they're lucky. I mean, if I say, think about what your highest food for potassium is, think about it right now. I'm going to jump in your head. You're going to think it's a banana, even though an avocado is actually almost twice the amount of potassium than a banana, right? So we tend to be brainwashed in and around potassium. Avocados are great sources of potassium. Mushrooms really good. Sweet potatoes good. Squash good. There's some protein sources, like a lot of salmon is usually pretty good as well. So those are your really good sources of potassium. Leafy greens tend to have about a half a milligram. Sorry, yeah, 500 milli. Yeah, so I said great. Yeah, 500 milligrams per serving or so, right? A gram is 1,000 milligrams. So yeah, about a half a gram. So yeah, really important we get enough of these. And so why are your electrolytes out of balance? So number one is you're just not getting it in your system. So it could be the sodium chloride. You're not getting enough good sea salt, putting it in your water, salting your food. I recommend using the Redmond's real salt or a really good Celtic or Himalayan. Half a teaspoon in your water twice a day. Salt your food pretty liberally. I'll pinch a little bit of salt in my water if I'm not drinking a good quality, like a Topo Chico or Pellegrino mineral water. Potassium, magnesium, you probably are going to have to supplement that if you're not getting enough in your food. So it's always good to supplement anywhere between 2 to 500 milligrams of magnesium a day is fine. Usually a glycinate or a malate's good. If you're doing a cheaper natural calm citrate, that's also pretty good, especially at bedtime if it has a relaxing effect for you. Sodium and good sea salt's usually going to be enough. Potassium, take a look at your diet. See where you're at. Go to Chronometer, justinhealth.com/chronometer, CRONO meter. And that's a great site because you can put all your food that you eat in a day in there, and it will look at all your micronutrients, which is kind of cool. So you can see your potassium, magnesium, all your minerals, and then that'll give you a window if you're close or not, if you're on the right track or not. And that way, if you aren't on the right track, then you can start to supplement. Now, my line, I use potassium synergy, which is going to be like a potassium citrate. I like that if we need to fill in the gap. I use a powder because most potassium comes in 100 milligram capsules. So then some people are taking like 15 to 20 capsules a day. It can be kind of insane. And so powder is kind of nice. So you can do it in a scoop and a half. So it makes it a little bit easier. Maximize food first, right? Avocados, sweet potato, squash, fish, dark chocolate, all your leafy greens. Maximize that first. Coconut water can be pretty good, especially post-workout with potassium. Magnesium, my favorite sources are going to be either, a malate or a glycinate's good, or a cheaper citrate. Those are going to be good supplemental forms. Again, similar sources for magnesium, your leafy greens, dark chocolate, good high quality starches, like I mentioned, that are whole foods, say starch bases are great. And now, what's the number two reason why your electrolytes are low? So you can also just be dehydrated too. We need hydration to kind of carry those minerals, right? Those minerals swim in good, healthy fluid and good water, right? We know hyponatremia, if you drink too much, you can actually dilute them down, but you need enough water. That's going to be enough hydration, good, clean, filtered water, half your body weight in ounces. That's number two. Number three is if you're stressed. If you're under a lot of stress, you're going to pee out your electrolytes, especially potassium. Even in Guyton's physiology textbook, it talks about being under adrenal stress, high levels of cortisol, you can flush out your potassium. And sodium and potassium are on a type of kind of a ratio. So if your potassium starts to go low, you'll see your metabolic panel, your sodium go up. And so that can happen. So if you're under stress, you may need more potassium. This is where supplementing extra potassium or magnesium when you're under stress can be helpful. Hydrating can be really helpful. Good sea salt, those kind of things are excellent as well if you're under more stress. Remember, the hormone, the adrenal hormone, the mineral corticoids, which are part of the adrenal hormone cascade, these mineral corticoids like aldosterone, they actually help you hold on to your electrolytes, to your minerals. So the more stressed you become, you don't make enough aldosterone. That's going to impact how your body retains minerals. And again, if you have high levels of insulin or you're insulin resistant, that can also overly hold your sodium. That's why when you get insulin resistant and inflamed, you start to get a lot of puffiness and a lot of fluid retention. That's because your insulin pulls up your sodium. So we want to make sure your diet's good. It's anti-inflammatory. We're not surging our insulin. We're getting enough of these good potassium, good magnesium-rich foods. We're adding sea salt to our meals. We're managing our stress. If we have more stress, we'll be taking some adrenal support, whether it's a B complex, whether it's some adaptogens like ashwagandha. There are other different nutrients we can use that I will typically recommend getting an adrenal test so we can fine tune the dosage and the timing on that so we know exactly where you stand during the day based on your cortisol circadian rhythm. And I would say next on that's going to be digestion issues. If we have a lot of stress in our gut, we have a lot of gut inflammation from gut bugs, that can impact our absorption of a lot of these minerals. A lot of these minerals need to be ionized, which essentially need good acidity to kind of work on the ionization of those minerals so they can be absorbed properly. The ionization is super important to making sure those minerals get absorbed well. Now, ionization, really interesting. We need good. So ionization is the process by which ions form by gain or loss of an electron, right? And so we need to kind of work on the electron issue. And then hydrochloric acid plays a major role because you're adding hydrochloric acid. That's an extra electron there. And so that really makes a big difference with the absorption of a lot of these minerals. So hydrochloric acid, extra electron, helps with the absorption of a lot of these minerals. Very important. So in general, we talked about the gut. And so with the gut, it could be inflammation in the gut from foods. There could be H. pylori driving inflammation. There could be other infections, parasites, bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth. All these things could be driving inflammation that could be impacting the absorption. So if we go back, right, it could be a combination of stress. It could be a combination of hydration, just not getting the electrolytes in, not getting the foods in. You're peeing a lot of these things out. Insulin's out of whack, and you have a lot of gut inflammation as well. So you got to look at all 5 of these issues, and you may have a part of these going on across the board. You may, every one of these issues, one may be a bigger one. Make sure you salt your food well. Make sure you use a good sea salt. Make sure you hydrate. Good, clean, filtered water. If you're using RO water, right, add some electrolytes to it. Have a good trace mineral support that you can add in, whether it's a sea salt or like a trace mineral research Endure, 40,000 volts is good. Make sure you're eating good mineral-rich foods. Organic is better. You're going to have more minerals in there. Make sure you take a look at your gut. Make sure your gut is fully dialed in. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. Put your comments down below. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a share. And if you want to dive in deeper, if you have other electrolyte issues or other issues with your health that are connected to electrolytes and you want to dive in deeper, feel free. There'll be a link down below where you can reach out and schedule myself and staff. And we are available worldwide to help you out with functional medicine support. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me grab a couple questions here. Dr. J, what food would you suggest to help me gain weight? Well, the first thing overall is get enough calories. It's impossible to gain weight unless you get enough calories. That's important. Now, within those calories, typically carbohydrates are going to be the most fattening food, especially if you're not super active. Carbohydrates will surge insulin. Insulin will then increase your body's fat storing capacity. And if you do a lot of fat, extra fat with the insulin, with the high carb foods, then you'll gain more weight. So think of extra tablespoon of coconut oil, extra grass-fed butter, along with a lot of higher carb foods. Think safe starches, squash, sweet potato. Take a look at your macros, see where you're at. Get your carbs in the 40 to 60% range. You can keep your protein around 20. You can adjust your fat upwards as well. See where you're at. Again, just try to make sure the weight's good, healthy weight. If you're already lean, up in the carbs with a little bit of fat can be helpful. Make sure the calories are adequate. Can low electrolytes cause heel pain? Well, it depends. I mean, what connects at the bottom of the heel? So that's your calcaneus, and so the calcaneal tendon, or the ACL, not the ACL, Achilles tendon slash calcaneal tendon is going to go right down the back of your calf into that area. So you could have a bunch of the muscles either in the soleus or gastrocnemius in the calf that are inserting in that calcaneus, just really tight and pulling. Um, that whole fascia under the heel could be really tight as well. And so you'd really want to find a really good soft tissue specialist to work on breaking that tissue down, improving pliability. You can get a gua sha stone and do it with some shea butter or coconut oil. But getting a good massage or chiropractor, active release chiropractor to work on that tissue and help break it down will be helpful. Could electrolytes help? Magnesium definitely can be very anti-inflammatory. I mean, I would just make sure you have good electrolytes in your diet anyway. You could topically hit it, do a nice foot bath, 15, 20 minutes, hot water, add a whole cup of Epsom salts. That should be very anti-inflammatory, and we'll work on actually relaxing that tissue, Susan. So hope that makes sense and you enjoy that. All right, guys, let me know if you enjoyed the video. Appreciate it. I'm out here for the night, guys. Take care.